Tonight I have a very interesting story. But let me ask you something. Think about a border so feared that entire empires agree not to cross it, and then forget why. It's a strange thought, isn't it, that the most dangerous things in the galaxy might not be the enemies you can see, but the warnings your grandparents stopped taking seriously. I've always been fascinated by how quickly memory turns into myth. One generation lives through something terrifying, the next turns it into a story, and a few centuries later, it's just a red mark on a map that nobody really respects. It really makes you wonder how many superstitions in our own world started as survival instructions. So instead of replaying your day, let your mind drift to that idea. A quiet patch of space every pilot jokes about, every admiral dismisses, and every old star map still marks in hard, angry red. Terran Territory. Do not enter, no rescue. As you settle into whatever spot you're in, imagine you and I are looking at that map together. Around it, trade routes shine like busy highways. And in the middle, a dead zone everyone goes around. Now, somewhere out there, a bored, ambitious Imperial Admiral has decided that red line is just superstition. His flagship, the Sovereign Claw, is already aimed straight at it. And far beyond his sensors, on a hidden blue world wrapped in impossible defenses, someone has just noticed that an ancient treaty has been broken. Out past the bright trade routes and busy space lanes, there is a patch of quiet sky that every pilot learns to avoid. On Imperial star maps, it is marked in hard red lines. Terran Territory. Do not enter. No rescue. No contact. Most crews joke about it in mess halls. Admirals call it superstition. Historians say the species that lived there has faded, gone, or turned inward and died, but the border is still there. The warning beacon still burns. And in the deep dark behind that line, something old and patient is still watching. Tonight, you and I are going to sit with that silence. We will ride along with a proud Imperial fleet as it crosses a line everyone else has learned to respect. We will stand beside the hidden defenders of Earth as they wake up systems that have slept for centuries. No battles of rage, no screaming panic. Just a lesson given once, remembered forever. So settle back, let your shoulders grow heavy. Let your thoughts move slow. Listen to the hum of distant reactors and the soft tick of cooling metal. You are aboard the Imperial flagship Sovereign Claw, heading straight toward the border that every map says to leave alone. And far away, on a silent blue planet hidden behind layers of defense, Terran High Command is already aware you are coming. The Galactic Empire did not rise in a day. It grew over long ages, system by system, star by star. It had strict laws, armored ships, and tall towers of dark stone on cold worlds. It believed there was nothing left in the galaxy that could truly surprise it. At the top sat reptilian nobles, long-lived and calm. Their scales were polished. Their eyes were like knives. They saw themselves as the peak of order. Other species served in their fleets and filled their cities, but the reptilian houses gave the orders. In training halls across the empire, young officers studied old maps. On every map, there was a strange blank zone off to one side. No trade lanes crossed it. No patrol routes entered it. No sensors scanned it in detail. Just a ring of warning symbols, a block of red, and a short line of text: Terran Territory. Do not enter. Early in the Empire story, when its reach was still short, that red zone had meaning. Admiral spoke of a fierce early species called humans. They spoke of wars that did not end in clear victory. They spoke of hard borders agreed upon in fear and respect. But time washed those memories thin. Empires rose and fell. House records were edited, shortened, and lost. Teachers grew tired of explaining stories that had no battles to study, no medals to admire. The Terran sector, they said in class, old superstition. An old treaty, keep clear. That is all. Later, pilots joked about it. Ghost humans, they said, ancient monsters in the dark. If they were real, the Empire would have crushed them ages ago. The danger did not feel real anymore. That is how forgetting works. Not in a single moment, but slowly. Warnings turn into myths. Myths turn into stories told for fun. And then, one year, an admiral looks at the red line on the map and feels not fear, but boredom. Admiral Zorvak Kain was such an admiral. He stood on the command deck of the Imperial flagship Sovereign Claw, claws folded behind his back, staring at the curved wall of Starfield on the main display. His scales were a deep, burnished green. His jawline carried 3 silver rings, each a mark of past campaigns. His long tail lay still. His sign of focus. He had won his rank in border wars and fast strikes. He had grown tired of easy victories. Around him, the bridge was quiet and efficient. Thin, pale officers from other species worked their stations. Reptilian tacticians stood at raised consoles and watched data streams. Lieutenant Sarah Vaughn sat at the sensor pit, her dark eyes moving across layers of readings. She was not reptilian. Her species came from a high-gravity world, and her body was compact, dense, and strong. Her mind, though, was what the Empire valued most: careful, patient, and sharp. Captain Heron Dax stood at Zorvak's side. His scales were lighter than the Admiral's. A gray-green, younger, with fewer rings in his jaw. He respected Zorvak. He also feared the ideas that sometimes sowed in the Admiral's eyes. The border is straight ahead, Admiral, Dax said. His voice was calm, trained. 2 hours to contact with the marked Terran line. Zorvak watched the red arc glow on the map. No patrols, he said. No challenge. Silence for how many centuries now? Records show over 4,000 standard years since last registered contact. Sarah Vaughn answered without looking up. Possible gaps in 4,000 years. Zorvak cut in, his forked tongue touching the air between his teeth. And yet, The red line remains. This is what interests me. The documentary voice, your quiet guide, floats around these characters and speaks to you. You can feel the mood on the bridge. Professionals, trained. They have never seen true defeat. They have been taught that fear is for lesser minds. Admiral Captain Dax said carefully, Central Command doctrine is clear. Terran Territory is off limits. Penalties for breach are severe. Yes. Zorvak gave a slow, amused hiss. Written when our empire was still young, when we believed old ghost stories ourselves. But now he brought up a star map with a flick of his claw. Trade lanes, patrol routes, resource claims all bloomed in precise lines. The red Terran zone sat in the middle of this map, like a dead island in a busy sea. Our reach goes around it, Zorvak said. Our ships cross beneath and above it. We fight pirates on the far side of it, and this place just sits here, untouched, unused. Does this not trouble you, Captain? Dax felt eyes on him from across the bridge. It is unusual, he admitted. But it has stood this long. There must have been a reason. Must have, Zorvak repeated softly. Past tense, there was again. Boredom dressed as courage. What is your honest view, Lieutenant Vaughn? Zorvak asked, turning slightly toward the sensor station. Syrah paused. She knew the political risk of speaking her mind, but she also knew that data was valued here. Admiral, I have reviewed all open records, she said. There are fragments of reports about Terran forces from very early Empire history. They describe advanced gravity control, high output energy shielding, and strong planetary defense. No clear record of defeat or victory exists. Only treaty terms. That is not enough, Zorvak said. His tail tip twitched. Treaties are made to be revised. In the observation lounge later, off-duty officers spoke in low voices. They had heard rumors that Zorvak wanted to test the border. Some were excited. Others were uneasy. You sit with them for a moment, feeling the soft hum of the ship's spin and the faint vibration of drives. Shifting power. So what if we cross? A young tactical officer said. No one lives there anymore. We scan it, map it, and return as heroes who broke an old ghost story. Or we ignite whatever made that treaty in the first place. Another replied. Back on the bridge, Sarah watched her screens. The border grew closer. Out the wide display, space looked the same. Stars did not change color near the red line. There was no glowing wall, no storm of light. Just a region on the map that devices refused to show in detail. Long-range scans blurred near the inner zone. Signals curved strangely. It felt, to Syrah, like looking into fog made of math. Admiral, she said quietly, sensor resolution drops by 30% at the edge of the Terran line. Gravitational readings show slight anomalies. Natural, Zorvak said. Old nebular mass, perhaps, or other errors. We will correct them from the inside. He raised himself to full height and touched the command sigil on the arm of his chair. "Fleet," he said, voice broadcast to the full armada, drifting in formation behind the sovereign claw. "This is Admiral Zorvak Kain. Today we cross a border that our grandsires feared. We will show that the Empire faces myths with open eyes." Cheers rose across many decks. Not everyone cheered, but those who did were loud enough to carry. The fleet moved forward. You drift with them across the red line painted on Imperial maps. There is no shudder, no visible gate, no rush. Just a change in coordinates. Inside Terran Territory, space looks almost the same. Almost. "Contact," Sarah said. "Passive object at 20 light seconds directly ahead. Very small. No known transponder. Put it on the main," Zorvak ordered. The stars on the forward display shifted. At the center, a small metallic object came into focus, lit by the distant sun of this region. It was no larger than a cargo pod. Its surface was pitted and scratched, as if it had been out here a very long time. "A derelict?" Dax asked. "Scan it," Zorvak said. "Already doing so," Sarah answered. Her hands moved across her board. "Object has a power core at minimal output. Structure suggests human design by old records. Terran, Admiral." The word hung in the air. "Open a channel," Zorvak said. "There is no visible antenna," Sarah replied. "But something is." Wait. The object's surface glowed faintly. The glow was not bright, but steady, like an old beacon waking from sleep. A signal hit every ship in the fleet at the same instant. No carrier wave, no narrow beam. Just a strong, clear push that reached command, decks, crew quarters, even personal implants. On the bridge of the Sovereign Claw, the main display flashed white, then showed text in Imperial Standard, followed by lines in hundreds of other languages. You feel it too, as if it prints itself across your inner vision. You are entering Protect Terran Territory. Turn back immediately. No passage, no negotiation. This border is absolute. Below the words came a calm, human voice. It spoke in the Empire's tongue with perfect grammar. No accent. "This is a final warning. You have crossed a line that must not be crossed. Reverse course now. Failure to comply will trigger permanent defensive measures." There was no anger in the voice, no raised tone. It sounded like a teacher reading exam instructions. Then the beacon went dark again. Silence returned to the bridge. Some officers shifted in their seats. Others stared straight ahead. Sarah felt the small hairs on the back of her neck stand up. "Admiral Captain Dax said slowly, "This suggests there is still an active civilization here. A very careful one, or a recording set to play on trigger," Zorvak said. But his eyes were narrow. He was thinking. The documentary voice speaks softly to you. You can feel the choice forming in Zorvak's mind. Back away and admit the border is real, or press forward and prove to himself that he does not fear old warnings. "Admiral," Sarah said, forcing her voice to stay steady, I advise turning back, even if the message is old. It shows this space is defended. There may be hidden systems we cannot see. The map marks are not simple myths. Zorvak looked at her for a long moment. Lieutenant Vaughn, he said, fear kept this zone closed for thousands of years. If we give in now, the Empire will continue to bow to ghosts. No, we continue on. We will map this region. We will show that the border is an empty threat. He raised his hand. Order the forward scouts to advance. Light speed radius. Extended pattern. Full sensor sweep. Dax hesitated, then gave the order. Small, fast ships peeled away from the main fleet and glided ahead. Their drives flared and faded as they moved into the deeper dark. Minutes passed. Reports came back at first. Clear space. Odd gravity patterns. Sensor noise. No contacts. Then the reports stopped. "Where is Scout Wing 3? Dax asked quietly. Sarah checked again. No signal. Sir, last ping at sector mark A17. Then nothing. No distress call. Equipment failure. Zorvak said. Minor. Send another wing. More scouts went out. Again, first contact. Then sudden silence. Admiral, Syrah said, feeling cold. Their transponders do not even fade. They just stop. Not destroyed in a normal way. Just cut off. Her hands moved faster across her controls. She shifted to other bands. Gravitational scans. Radiation patterns. Dark energy measurements. For a fraction of a second, she caught something. Not a shape. Not a clear outline, just a shadow against the starfield. Something huge, barely there, like a hole in sensor logic. Oh, I am seeing anomalies around us, she said, very faint, like mass where there should be none. I cannot get a lock. On the main display, the stars seemed to bend, just slightly, near the fleet's flanks. Most eyes missed it. Yours does not. Visual only, Sarah said, turning off layers of data and leaving raw photons. Then, at the very edge of sight, the crew saw them, thin lines of darkness against the stars. Long shapes, unmoving, too straight to be natural, too still to be random. And then, as soon as eyes tried to focus, they were gone again. The brain slid off them, as if trained not to notice. Your quiet guide speaks to you again. Something is already around the fleet. It has been there from the moment they crossed the line. It does not rush. It does not roar. It just waits. On a distant, hidden supercarrier far beyond their range, humans watch calmly and make notes. But that is for the next chapter. For now, the Empire moves deeper in, its pride stronger than its caution, not yet understanding that fear is not the enemy. Sometimes fear is simply memory trying to keep you safe, far from the sovereign claw, beyond the reach of Imperial sensors. Another ship hung in the dark. It did not glow on ordinary scans. Its hull swallowed most light. Its outline blurred and shifted, as if it refused to be seen clearly. This was the TCS Night Covenant. TCS stood for Terran Combat Ship, though few humans said the full name anymore. They just called it the Covenant or the Night. It was enormous. An Imperial battleship could have landed on its upper deck and still had room to spare. Old scars ran across parts of its hull, sealed long ago. Thin blue lines of power traced patterns under armor plates, dim as calm rivers seen at night. Inside, the ship was calm and quiet. No alarm sirens, no rushing feet, just a low, steady hum from reactors and life support, like the breathing of some patient animal. In a command room near the center, Commander Elias Mercer stood in front of a wide, hollow field. His hair was going gray at the temples. His eyes were steady and tired, in the way of someone who had seen a lot and did not need drama to feel strong. Around him, officers watched the same display. It showed a three-dimensional view of the region just beyond the Terran borderline. Hundreds of tiny icons marked Imperial ships. They floated like a tight school of bright fish inside a large, faint bubble. That bubble was not a shield. It was the first layer of the Terran net. Gravity field is stable. An operator said, "No sign. They have detected the shape of it. They are still trying standard FTL pings. Let them try." Elias said softly. The documentary voice settles beside you. Here, on the Terran side, fear feels different. Not the raw fear of being attacked, but a quiet weight, the knowledge of what these systems can do, and what must be done to keep the galaxy from tearing itself apart. On a different world, under a sky that looks blue and harmless, Dr. Maya Caldwell sat in a deep, shielded room beneath what had once been Colorado Springs. Old mountains lay above the facility. Forests had grown over the ruins of earlier bases. On the surface, it looked like quiet hills and hiking trails. Far below, in a clean white control chamber, screens and quantum cores glowed. Maya watched the same Imperial fleet from a different angle. Her hair was pulled back, her eyes sharp behind simple glasses. She was not military. She was an information scientist, trained in patterns, signals and minds. "Admiral Shaw, Commander Mercer, Imperial Fleet has crossed Trip Line Alpha," she said, speaking into the air. "All conditions as projected. Their scouts are trying to push the edge of the net." In an old naval city under the Atlantic, deep under a place that had once been called Norfolk, Admiral Rebecca Shaw listened. Her presence came into the Night Covenant's command room as a clear, flat image, standing at Elias' side. She wore a dark uniform with a single bright silver bar at the collar. Her hair was cut short. Her face was lined, but her eyes were warm. "Thank you, Doctor," Shaw said. "Elias, talk me through the current settings." "Yes, Admiral," Elias replied. He touched the hollow field. The scene zoomed in. You see the Imperial fleet as a cluster of colored dots. Around them, faint layers of curved lines appeared. "These are the gravity well generators," Elias said. 98 primary projectors anchored to mass points. We parked here centuries ago. Each can produce a controlled gravity field strong enough to tug a destroyer out of FTL. or bend a torpedo's path. He adjusted a control. The lines shifted. Alone, each well is obvious, he continued. Plenty of younger empires use simple gravity mines, but we learn to blend them. We tie them into a net. Maya's voice came in from Colorado. Think of it like a spider's web you cannot see, she said. Except instead of threads, it uses gravity itself. Instead of catching flies, it gently cups any incoming ship and holds it in place. Soft trap, Elias said. He smiled faintly. That phrase was yours, Maya. Yes, she said. The goal is not to destroy. It is to stop, to slow, to give us time to teach a clear lesson. No one listens in the middle of a chaotic battle. Our design makes sure there is no battle at all. Just certainty. Admiral Shaw watched the icons of the Imperial Scouts vanish as they hit special pockets in the net. What is their status? She asked. Alive, Elias said. We dropped each scout into a local gravity well cell, shut down FTL access, and wrapped them in a dense stealth field. From their view, all external signals are gone. They are alone in a dark bubble. They will not die. They will not call home. They will sit until we decide otherwise. The documentary voice turns to you. Terran technology has moved far beyond simple guns and bombs. They learned that the best defense is control. Control of movement, control of information, control of story. The gravity well border net is their main tool here. It works like this. All ships that travel faster than light use some form of field that pushes them away from normal space or slips them along deeper layers of it. Those fields are sensitive to gravity. Strong gravity makes FTL drives unstable, so Terran engineers long ago spread a web of artificial gravity wells across the border. Each well is fine-tuned, not so strong as to crush a ship, just strong enough to pull at any FTL field that tries to cross in the wrong way. A ship enters at speed. Its FTL field meets the net. The drive hiccups and drops to normal space. The ship slows. It finds itself in what seems like empty dark. Stealth fields bend and smear every signal a ship gives off. Light, heat, radio, even neutrino flow. They also twist any incoming signals. To outside eyes, the trapped ship is almost invisible. To the crew inside, the universe goes silent. No stars shift. No fleet responds, just stillness. Back on the Night Covenant, Elias watched the Imperials push against the net like flies against glass. They could not see. Outer layers remain set to gentle pushback, he said. If the main fleet tries to leave right now, they will find themselves sliding along the net instead of crossing it. They will feel lost. Shaw folded her arms. At what point do we tighten? Maya answered. We wait until fear turns to focus, she said. At first, they will be confused. They will blame sensor glitches, equipment failure, bad luck. Then, as more scouts vanish and messages begin to fail, their minds will shift. They will start thinking something is doing this to us. That is the right moment to speak. She looked at her own screens, which showed not just ships and fields, but statistical models of thought patterns, predicted reactions, and emotional states based on behavior. This is not just about technology, Maya continued. It is about shaping memory. One clear event that will sit in their history for the next 10,000 years. We want them to leave with a story they cannot twist. No drama, no shouting, just facts. You drift back to the Imperial fleet. Time passes. On the Sovereign Claw, the mood has changed. At first, the crew had been excited. Now, a low, tight silence fills the bridge. Scout Wing 5 has failed to report, Sarah said. Her voice was firm, but her hands were tense. We are now missing 17 vessels. No debris, no flares. Just gone. Captain Dax's tail wrapped slowly around one ankle. We have to treat this as hostile action, he said. Something is taking our ships. They have not fired on us, Zorvak replied, eyes still fixed on the main display. Sayend, we have no proof of weapons. We have proof of effect, Dax said quietly. Admiral, with respect, we are in a trap. Sarah looked at her gravimetric readings again. Something in the background numbers bothered her. Small pulls and pushes that did not match any known natural formation. It is like tides, she thought. Tides made by hands. Aloud, she said. Gravitational field in our area is not normal. Regular spacing. Almost like an array. Can we break through? Zorvak asked. I do not know, Sarah said. If we go to FTL and push hard in one direction, we may cross a weak spot. Or we may hit a strong pocket and lose more ships. Zorvak considered. Then he made a choice that sealed many fates. Prepare for coordinated FTL jump, he ordered. Short burst. We will punch through before the trap tightens. On the Night Covenant, alarms chimed gently. Not harsh, just informative. Imperial Main Fleet is charging FTL drives, said an officer. Vector suggests attempt to force the net. Hold them, Shaw said. Elias touched a control. In the holofield, the curved lines of the gravity net shifted, thickening in front of the Imperial vector, boosting wells 14 through 32, he said. Keep them subcrush. Maximum shear just under hull stress limits. He was careful. The goal was not to tear ships apart. It was to prove control. The Imperial fleet jumped. For a moment, every ship's drive screamed against invisible weight. Space twisted, stars smeared. Then, with a lurch, they dropped back to normal space, almost exactly where they had started. On the Sovereign Claw, the bridge rocked gently. Lights flickered and returned. Report, Zorvak snapped. Sarah stared at her displays in disbelief. Position nearly unchanged, she said. We have shifted by only a few thousand kilometers. For that input of drive energy, we should have crossed 14 light minutes, Dax asked. It felt like trying to leap a gap and landing on the same stone. Sierra checked logs, then checked again. The space around us changed. While we were in FTL, she said slowly, our engines did what they were told. But the gravity map they pushed against was not the one our computers thought was there. Someone moved the wells. Zorvak's jaw tightened. On the night covenant, Elias watched the same moment and spoke softly. They now know, at least in part, what we have done, he said. They know something is shaping the field around them. In real time. Maya nodded. Miles and worlds away. Good, she said. Confusion has become recognition. It is time. Admiral Shaw looked at Elias. Go ahead, Commander. Begin first contact. Elias turned to his communications officer. Open a broad spectrum channel, he said. No carrier. Use direct pulse modulation. Full translation overlay. The officer's fingers moved. Systems that had rested for decades came awake. Old algorithms spun, checking every known imperial language and dialect. On the Sovereign Claw, every console flickered. Crew members felt a soft pressure in their ears, even those not wearing headsets. Implants buzzed. Personal devices turned on without being touched. Then, across every channel, a voice spoke. It was clear, calm, human, Imperial fleet, it said in perfect Imperial standard. You have crossed into protected Terran Territory. On every ship, everyone went still. This space is not empty, the voice continued. It has never been empty. Your maps have lied to you through silence. Sarah felt her throat go dry. In the next minutes, the voice said, you will be tested, not in fire, but in understanding. The tone was almost gentle. Not in fire, but in understanding, the tone was almost gentle. This is your first lesson, it said. Power is not the loudest gun. Power is the hand that shapes the field you move through. On the night covenant, Elias stood very still, listening to his own recorded words play out through systems he had helped design. Maya watched numbers scroll across her screens, tracking heart rates and motion patterns on the Imperial ships, from tiny vibrations and heat changes. Attention levels high, she said. Fear present, but not yet panic. This is good. They will remember more clearly this way. On the Sovereign Claw, Admiral Zorvak gripped the arms of his chair. Identify yourself, he said harshly. By what right do you impede the movement of the Galactic Empire? The voice answered at once. As if it had expected the question, by the right of survival, it said, by the right of old treaties you have forgotten. By the right of those who remember what your kind did when you were younger and more reckless. There was no insult in the words. Just simple, solid fact. This border is not a suggestion. The voice went on. It is not a myth. It is not an old superstition. It is a law, as firm as gravity, as clear as light. Sarah looked at Zorvak. Her eyes seemed to say, we should go, now. But the gravity net held them. They were locked in place by fields. They could not see, inside a trap designed not to rage, but to teach. Your quiet guide leans close to you. Terran High Command has spent thousands of years thinking about how to prevent war without constant killing. They learned something hard and simple. If a border must stand forever, it cannot be defended by endless small battles. By giving intruders an experience so clear, so controlled, and so complete that they carry it back as a story no one can twist. Tonight, the Imperial fleet has become a class. The border is the classroom. The gravity net, the stealth fields, the vanished scouts, and the calm voice are the first lesson. Soon, the Night Covenant will show itself, and with a single, precise shot, it will teach the next part of the story. The Imperial fleet hung in place, caught in the Terran net. Engines were warm, weapons were ready, crews were trained and proud, but none of that mattered if they could not move. On the Sovereign Claw, the bridge felt tight, even though it was a wide, high roam. Lieutenant Serevan watched her readouts again and again. No matter how she tuned the sensors, the same picture came back. Gravity lines bent around them like a cage. Admiral Zorvak Kain sat in his command chair, jaw set hard. Captain Helen Dax stood beside him, tail wrapped stiffly around his ankle, a sign of strain he tried to hide. Across all channels, the Terran voice had gone silent again. No taunts, no demands, just silence and the slow flecks of invisible fields. They are playing with us, Dax said, under his breath. Zorvak heard. They are trying to frighten us, he replied. It will not work. Sarah did not speak. She zoomed in on the places where her instruments stuttered. There, in thin zones around the fleet, data blurred and smeared, like light seen through hot air. Admiral, she said, I recommend we reduce our profile, power down non-essential systems, make ourselves as small a target as possible. Zorvak bared his teeth. We are not prey, he snapped. We do not curl up and hope to be ignored. He turned to the communication station. Signal the fleet. Battle readiness. Open all batteries. Prepare for full spectrum engagement. Dax started to protest, then stopped. Loyalty and worry pulled at him from both sides. Now for test, then stopped from both sides. Admiral, he tried again. We still do not see the enemy clearly. We do not know their positions, their numbers, or their main weapons. Firing blind is better than waiting to be butchered. Zorvak finished. We have been herded into place. I will not sit while they sharpen the knife. The documentary voice moves close to you. You can feel Zorvak's pride. You can also feel his fear, buried deep. He has won many battles by acting fast. He does not understand an enemy that moves slowly and speaks like a teacher. Far away, aboard the Night Covenant, Commander Elias Mercer watched the fleet icons shift color as the Imperials charged weapons. Here we go, an officer said quietly. They will fire, Admiral Rebecca Shaw said. They are too used to solving problems with force. Elias nodded. Shields to full. Armor bracing active. No return fire until my mark. Let them see their full barrage do nothing. It will save lives in the long run. Doctor, Maya Caldwell's voice came in from Colorado Springs. Remember, she said, our goal is a clear, simple lesson. Overwhelming power shown in a controlled way. No excess. Elias exhaled slowly. Understood. On the Sovereign Claw, the forward screens showed only stars and darkness. No ships, no glowing weapons, no targets. Yet Sarah could still feel something out there, just beyond clear sight. Subtle blanks in the star field. A sense that some parts of the view were too perfect, like a painted picture hiding what lay behind. Admiral, she said, I have faint anomalies at bearing 030 Mark 12, and again at 210 Mark 40. Shapes the size of capital ships, maybe larger. They flicker in and out of sensor range. How many? Zorvak demanded. Hard to say, she replied. At least 6, maybe more. Whatever they are using to hide is very advanced. Zorvak made his choice. Fleet, he said, voice carrying on tight beam to every ship. This is Admiral Kain. We are under stealth assault by Terran forces. You are to fire full batteries on my mark. Spread fire across all suspected sectors. Do not hold back. We will break their net by force. The order was simple. Charge everything, fire everywhere. Suris' eyes flicked from her station to the Admiral. She knew this was a bad idea. Firing blind into the dark would not break gravity wells, but she also knew she could not stop him. Targets? Captain Dax asked all anomalous readings. Zorvak said, and a wide scatter around them. If they hide behind stealth fields, we will strip those fields away with raw energy. On the Night Covenant, warning lights glowed calm blue along the weapon pits. Imperial fleet showing full power spikes. An officer said, They are about to unleash everything. Brace all decks, Elias ordered. Seal outer compartments. Bring adaptive shielding to dynamic mode. He looked at Admiral Shaw. This is their right, he said. To know their best cannot harm us. Shaw's gaze did not leave the hollow field. And our duty, she said, is to make sure enough of them live to remember it. The first Imperial shots lit space, beams of hard light, invisible to normal eyes, stabbed across the dark. Plasma bolts shone as bright spheres before their own fields smoothed them into tight streams. Rail slugs, tiny on the display, but huge in reality, tore forward at a significant fraction of light speed. Every weapon system on every ship in the fleet fired. The night around them turned into lines and dots of deadly energy. From the Sovereign Claw, it looked like rain falling sideways. Lines of fire crossed and crisscrossed, painting the dark with bright paths. Some shots streaked into emptiness. Others slammed into things that had not been visible a moment before. You see it with them. Where beams and slugs met invisible surfaces, space shimmered. For an instant, you catch glimpses of enormous shapes, massive hulls with sharp angles and smooth curves, old scars and new armor. Then Terran shields reacted from the Night Covenant and the ships around it. Layered fields unfolded. Unlike simple bubble shields used by many empires, Terran shields were smart. They changed thickness and strength in different zones. Where the Imperial barrage hit hardest, the fields thickened, absorbing energy, then spreading it out like heat across a large area. On the Terran command deck, status bars rose and fell, forward shield sectors taking 90% of incoming fire. An officer reported. No penetration. Hull stress remains within safe limits. Rail impacts, Elias asked. 7 direct hits on outer plates. Came the answer. Deflection fields redirecting kinetic force. Armor at 98%. The Night Covenant's hull shook only slightly, like a train rolling over a small bump. Inside, crew members barely noticed. To the Imperials, it looked very different. On the main display of the Sovereign Claw, their best weapons vanished into soft glows on the surface of shapes that now refused to stay hidden. One by one, Terran warships dropped parts of their stealth fields. Not fully, just enough. Enough for the Imperial crews to see black hulls edged in dim blue light. Enough to see long, armored flanks with old battle scars. Enough to see weapon towers that were, for the moment, not firing. And then the largest of them all revealed itself. At first, it was just a deepening darkness. Then, as stealth fields relaxed and shield light played across it, the Night Covenant came into view. It slid into the center of the forward display like a continent drifting into the sky. Even through distance and filtered sensors, its scale was clear. It dwarfed any Imperial ship. Its central spine ran on and on, with hangar bays large enough to hold cruisers. Its ventral surface carried a single massive cannon barrel, longer than some escort ships. Captain Dax felt his mouth go dry. That is a carrier? He asked. Super carrier, she said softly. Mass estimates, Admiral. It has more tonnage than half our line combined. Zorvak stared. All across the Imperial fleet, crews stopped what they were doing to look. The Terran supercarrier did not fire. It did not need to. Its presence was a message. Your quiet guide speaks to you. Humans built the Night Covenant long ago, during wars the current empire barely remembers. They built it to survive worst-case battles. Swarms of enemy ships, planet-killer weapons, ambushes at close range. Now, its role is different. It sits at the center of a calm defense and shows intruders a scale of power that makes further struggle feel pointless. Damage report, Zorvak demanded. Minor hits on our forward shields from reflected energy, Sarah said. No major structural damage. But what? He snapped. But our weapons did nothing, she said. All logs show clean impacts on Terran hulls and shields. No penetrations. No system failures on their side. Our full barrage might as well have been a test shot. Dax spoke quietly. Admiral, We are outclassed. Their net holds us. Their ships ignore our fire. We should seek terms while we still have strength. Zorvak's claws dug into the arms of his chair. His pride burned. He thought of the red line on the map, of the centuries of jokes, of his own speech to the fleet. If he backed down now, history would remember him as the Admiral who went into the Terran zone and fled at the first show of force. He could not accept that. On the Night Covenant, Elias watched stress levels spike across the Imperial fleet's biometric readings. Fear is climbing toward panic, Maya reported. We must give them something clear to focus on, or they will make mistakes and force us to be harsher. Shaw nodded. Time for the demonstration, she said. Single shot, tight parameters. Elias, he turned to his gunnery chief. Prepare main spinal cannon. Target nearest Imperial battleship in line with the Sovereign Claw. Non-overkill setting. We will erase the ship cleanly. No spillover. The gunnery chief, a calm woman with close cropped hair, ran quick checks. Target locked, she said. Imperial hull ID. Hammer of Regal Dawn. Distance well within comfort band. Projected time to impact. Elias looked at Shaw. She gave a small nod. He took a breath and spoke, not to his crew, but through the open channel to the Imperial fleet. Imperial Command, he said, his voice now live. You have seen that your weapons cannot harm us. You have felt our control of your movement. Now you will see what we choose to do with our firepower. On the Sovereign Claw, those words reached every deck. Sura's hands clenched on her console. Admiral, she said, they are going to shoot. Zorvak glared at the Night Covenant's image. Let them, he hissed. We will show them we can take a punch as well. He still did not understand. In the deep of the Night Covenant, power routes shifted. Reactors that had been running at idle sent focused surges down armored conduits. Massive capacitors flared to full charge. Along the lower spine of the ship, the huge cannon came alive. It did not glow wildly. Instead, a tight line of blue-white light formed inside its barrel, folding and looping in on itself as magnetic fields compressed it into a narrow, perfect beam. To untrained eyes, it looked calm. To sensors, it was terrifying. Spinal gun at 100%, the gunnery chief said. All safeties cleared. Firing solution stable. Ready on your mark, Commander. Elias' voice stayed soft. Fire. From outside, it looked like a single straight line of light flashed from the Night Covenant to the Imperial battleship. No build-up, no roaring charge-up sound in space. Just a clean, bright stroke. It hit the hammer of Regal Dawn dead center. There was no explosion, like in old action shows. No fireball. Instead, for a split second, a white-hot point appeared on the battleship's hull. Then, in that same instant, the point expanded into a thin glowing slice that ran from one side of the ship to the other. The beam cut through armor, structure, reactors, and crew compartments as if they were made of paper. On the Sovereign Claw, the main display showed it all. The battleship seemed to pause. Then, very slowly, its two halves began to drift apart. Gases vented in thin lines. A few small fires flared and died in vacuum. Lights went out section by section. No escape pods launched. There had been no time. Sierra stared, unable to look away. They did that with one shot, she said. Single barrel, single beam. Captain Dax felt something inside him give way. It was not courage. It was the idea that their empire could always match any threat. Casualty estimate. Sarah swallowed. Full crew complement, Admiral. 15,000 lives. Gone in under 4 seconds. Silence fell across the bridge. Across the fleet, thousands of pairs of eyes watched the two halves of the hammer of regal dawn slide apart. Trailing debris and frozen bodies. O caught, trailing debris and frozen again in the glows, star a mast-reading foes. No wreckage chunks flew toward other ships. The Terran beam had been tuned to cut and stop, not to blast. It was precise, controlled. That was the point. On the night Covenant, system status lights dropped back to calm green. Main gun cooldown cycle engaged. The gunnery chief said, "Capacitors recharging, ready for another demonstration in 40 seconds if needed." Maya spoke into the shared channel. "Psychological impact is total," she said. "This image will stay with them. We do not need a second example." Elias nodded in agreement. Agreed. No more capital kills, unless they force our hand. Admiral Shaw stepped forward, her projected image looking out as if she could see the Imperial officers face to face. She spoke slowly, clearly, across every Imperial channel. "This was your second lesson," she said. "We do not need fleets to destroy you. We do not need waves of fire. We need a single shot and the will to use it." On the sovereign claw, Zorvak's claws drew blood from his chair's armrests. He felt anger, shame, and a sick kind of awe. He had to admit what he was seeing, even if he hated it. These Terrans, he thought, have built weapons we do not understand, and defenses we cannot touch. Aloud, he forced himself to ask, "What do you want from us?" It was not surrender, not yet. It was the first crack in his certainty. Shaw answered, "We want you to live," she said. "We want you to go home. We want you to remember." She nodded slightly, as if that was the most natural wish in the world. "But our border is not a suggestion," she went on. "It is not open to debate. When your early empire met us, long ago, we agreed to this line. Your rulers then understood it. They signed with full knowledge of then, signed with full knowledge." The documentary voice, your quiet guide, reminds you. Terran records still hold the old treaty. It was made when the reptilian houses were young, after wars that almost burned entire sectors. The agreement was simple. The Empire would never cross a certain border around human space. In return, Terrans would stay within that border. and not shape the rest of the galaxy. Over long ages, the Empire forgot this deal. Terrans did not. This is what happens, Shaw said calmly. When that border is broken, behind her voice, the image of the cut battleship hung in every Imperial mind. Sarah looked again at the Night Covenant. Her sensor screens, now tuned more carefully, could see more of its details. She saw old weapon scars melted into smooth metal, as if the ship had fought long wars and survived them all. She saw new armor plates laid over older designs. She saw hangar doors closed tight, hiding what lay inside. How old is that ship? She wondered. Older than her entire career. Older than this version of the Empire. Maybe older than any living reptilian noble. On the Night Covenant, Elias spoke more gently now. You have a choice, he said. You can continue to fire. You can drive us to erase ship after ship, until there are none left to tell this story. Or you can stop. Power down weapons. Listen. He let the words hang. Maya watched her models update. Inclination to resist has dropped sharply, she reported. Shock has overridden pride for most of the fleet. Only a few captains still show signs of pushing for more engagement, Shaw considered. Highlight the Sovereign Claw, she said. Elias zoomed in on the Imperial flagship's icon. They follow their admiral, Shaw said. If he steps back, the rest will follow. If he throws himself against us, they will die with him. She looked through systems and distance at Zorvak Kain. Admiral, she said, directing her voice, now to him in particular, we have seen your record. You are not a fool. Do not make us treat you like one. On the Sovereign Claw, the insult stung. But beneath the sting, Zorvak heard something else, respect for his ability to choose. His eyes went to Captain Dax. What would you do if this chair were yours? He asked quietly, so only Dax and Sarah could hear. Dax held his gaze. I would live, he said, and I would take this story home. You can feel the moment turning. Pride and duty pull against survival and truth. The image of the cut battleship floats in everyone's thoughts. Zorvak slowly uncurled his claws from the chair. He spoke, not as a conqueror, but as a commander facing a power he did not understand. What do you require for us to leave? He asked the Terrans. Shaw did not smile. This was not a moment for joy. We will tell you, she said. That will be your third lesson for now, though the second lesson was complete. The Imperial fleet had seen the Night Covenant. They had watched their strongest ship erased by a single, precise shot. They had learned that in this part of space, their guns meant nothing, and someone else controlled the very field they moved through. The border had spoken, not in rage, not in chaos, in cold, exact action that no statistician, no historian, no proud admiral could deny. You sit with that, feeling the quiet that follows the shot. Half a battleship drifts in darkness. A supercarrier lowers its main gun back toward idle. Somewhere deep on hidden Earth, Dr. Maya Caldwell updates a record that has not been edited in centuries. Imperial breach event. Class Gamma. Demonstration shot successful. Survivors present. Proceed to release plan. The story is not over. Terrans still have to decide how many of these intruders will be allowed to go home and how. But the shape of the future has already bent. From this day on, the Galactic Empire will remember something it had forgotten. There is a line on its maps that is not just ink. It is backed by gravity, stealth, and a single shot from the Night Covenant that turns arrogance into fear, and fear into memory. The wreck of the hammer of regal dawn drifted slowly apart. Its two halves turned in silence, lit only by distant stars, and the soft glow of escaping gases. Bodies and broken metal tumbled between them. Tiny against the dark, across the Imperial fleet, no one spoke for a long time. On the Sovereign Claw, Admiral Zorvak Kain stared at the image until the edges of his vision blurred. He had seen ships destroyed before. He had ordered ships destroyed before, but never like this. No long struggle, no back and forth. Just a single stroke, and then nothing. Lieutenant Sarah Vaughn sat very still at her station. Her fingers rested on the edges of her console. She did not need to touch anything to know there was nothing she could do to change what had happened. Captain Halen Dax's tail hung loose, no longer wrapped tight. His body language had moved beyond tension to a kind of heavy stillness. On the Night Covenant, Commander Elias Mercer watched the same scene on the hollow field. Main gun in safe state. The gunnery chief said, "No further shots fired." Admiral Rebecca Shaw nodded. "Good," she said. "We have made our point." "Doctor." Maya Caldwell's voice came through from deep under Colorado. Emotional readings across their fleet showed deep shock, loss, and a new kind of caution, she said. "They are ready to listen now. Any further display will not teach them more. It will only add grief." Shaw looked at Elias. "Then we move to the next phase," she said. "We release them, but not freely. They must carry weight with them." Elias understood. "Survivors as messengers," he said. Maya added, "Carriers of story." The documentary voice turns toward you. This is the heart of Terran strategy. Not just to stop an enemy, not just when a single event, but to shape memory so clearly that it ripples down through generations, warning those who are not yet born. "We have shown them we can control the field," Shaw said. "Now we show we can control the end of this encounter as well." She stepped forward, her image standing tall on the Night Covenant's command deck. "Open channel," Elias ordered. On every Imperial ship, systems clicked as the Terran signal once again took priority over all others. "This is Admiral Rebecca Shaw of Terran High Command," she said. "Listen carefully. You will not get this message twice." Her voice was calm, not warm, not cruel. "Just steady. Your fleet is trapped in a gravity well net that you cannot break," she continued. "Your weapons cannot reach us. Your drives cannot outrun us. We have shown you this not to mock you, but to make sure you understand there is no path to victory here." On the Sovereign Claw, Zorvak forced himself to listen instead of argue. He knew deep down that she was right. "Centuries ago," Shaw said, your early empire met ours. There were wars. They were hard. They cost lives on both sides. In the end, both of us stepped back from ruin and agreed on a border. She paused, letting the words sink in. That border is the red zone on your maps, she said. Terran Territory, do not enter. Your rulers signed it. Your schools forgot it. We did not. Sarah felt a chill. It fit the old, broken stories she had seen in classified archives. Half legends of the old treaty never fully explained. Today, Shaw went on. You have crossed that line with a full war fleet. You did not come in peace. You did not send envoys first. You came with guns ready, scouts probing our defenses, pride in your voices. Her tone stayed level. This is a hostile act. We would be within our rights to erase you all and send only wreckage back into open space. But we will not do that. Captain Dax's head lifted at that. We will let some of you live, Shaw said. We will let you return to your empire. We will let you tell this story. Zorvak could not stay silent. Why? He asked, his voice rough. If you are as strong as you seem, why not destroy us? End the threat forever. Crush our empire before it grows foolish again. There was a long pause. When Shaw answered, her words held no pride, only a kind of tired knowledge. Because power that kills everything it fears becomes the thing it claims to fight. She said, because we do not want to rule your empire. We do not want to expand. We want to be left alone. She looked through cameras and sensors at Zorvak. And because a destroyed enemy soon becomes a story told by others, she added, they forget. They twist. They say, our fleet vanished in a storm. Our heroes died in mystery. Perhaps the Terran border is weak, after all. Maya spoke softly into her own mic. Dead fleets do not talk, she said. Alive crews do. Shaw's voice reached every corner of every Imperial ship. Survivors carry details that cannot be polished away, she said. The color of our hulls, the exact way your drives failed, the shape of the cut in the hammer of regal dawn. The sound of this voice, her eyes were steady. These details matter, she said. They make it harder for your leaders to pretend this never happened. That is why some of you will go home. Zorvak asked a question that lay heavy in every mind. Some, he said. Not all. No, Shaw answered. Not all. Elias spoke up now, taking some of the weight. We will release a fraction of your fleet, he said. Enough ships to make your story loud. Enough officers to give it weight in your courts and councils. The rest will remain here. Dax stiffened. Remain. How? He asked. He already feared the answer. Maya, far below Earth's surface, watched the Imperial icons on her own screen. She knew each one was full of beating hearts and busy minds. Some will be held as prisoners. She said, you will live. You will be treated fairly. You will see that we are not monsters. You may even grow old here, if you wish to serve in safe roles. She hesitated before the next part. Others, she said, we cannot safely release. They sit on ships that carry certain weapons we do not want your empire to keep, or they are leaders who would lie about what happened here to cling to their power. They will not return. On the sovereign claw, you can almost hear the hearts beating faster. Sarah's hands shook slightly, just once, then stilled. Admiral, she whispered, not sure if she was speaking to Zorvak or Shaw or herself. We have already lost a battleship. How many more will stay? Zorvak lifted his head. He had been afraid of dying in shame. Now he faced a different fear. Living with it. What must I do? He asked. To make sure my crew returns. Shaw answered him directly. You must obey, she said, now without trickery, without delay. She lifted a hand as if she were pointing on a physical map. In 1 minute, she said, you will receive a data burst with orders for each ship. Some will be marked release. Some hold, some cease. Your own flagship will be marked hold. Zorvak's jaw tightened. Why? He demanded. Why hold the sovereign claw? Because you chose to violate the border, Shaw said. Because you ordered the crossing and the attack. Because you are the story. She did not smile. You will not die, she went on. But you will not go home. Your name will travel there without you. The documentary voice leans toward you. This is another part of Terran thinking. They know that leaders often spin events to protect themselves. If the leader is removed but alive, others must tell the story of what happened. How do we know you will keep your word? Dax asked, voice tight. You have shown you can kill us at will. How do we trust your mercy? Elias answered this time. You do not have to trust it, he said. You will see it. He nodded to his operations officer. Begin staged 1 release, he ordered. Drop net strength to partial. Open safe corridors. Mark paths for their navigation systems. Around the trapped Imperial fleet, the invisible gravity fields began to shift. The net did not vanish. It changed. Instead of a full cage, it became a maze with doors. New lines appeared on Imperial tactical screens, bright and clear. Paths of least resistance, leading outward and away from Terran Territory. Sarah checked her readings twice. Admiral, she said, I see roots, genuine weak bands in the net. If we follow them, we can move. We can leave. Only if they allow it, Dax said. Shaw's voice returned. Shaw's voice returned. Ships marked release will find their drives able to engage along those paths, she said. We will not fire on them as long as they do not turn their weapons back toward us. She paused. This is not a trick, she added. If we wanted you dead, you would already be debris. On the Night Covenant, Elias watched as selected Imperial ships lit their drives, testing the new corridors. Stay ready, he told his crew. If any ship marked release breaks course and tries to attack, we shut them down hard. But if they obey, we help them. They were used to this kind of control. Firm, clear lines. Offers that stood, but did not bend. Under Colorado, Maya updated her models as ships began to move. Most captains are choosing to follow the Terran vectors, she reported. A few hesitate. One or two are trying to aim at us, but their own crews are resisting those orders. Shaw let out a slow breath. This is why we leave some of them their choices, she said, so they can do the right thing themselves. On the Sovereign Claw, Zorvak watched other ships slip away. Icons marked release moved along the bright corridors, slowly at first, then faster as their FTL drives pushed against gentler gravity fields. Sarah tracked them. They are getting clear, she said. The net is letting them pass. Admiral, they will make it home. Dax put a hand on the back of her chair. And us? He asked quietly. Sarah did not answer. They both knew. Zorvak straightened in his seat. His pride had been badly hurt, but not fully broken. Now something new pushed up in its place. A colder kind of duty. If he could not bring his ship home, he could still do something for those who would. He opened a channel to the fleet. This is Admiral Kain, he said, voice steady, ships marked for release. You will take this chance. You will follow Terran paths. Exactly. You will not fire. You will not turn. You will carry what you have seen today back to the heart of the Empire. He swallowed once. You will live, he said. That is my last order to you. Across multiple decks, crews listened. Some cried quietly. Some bowed their heads. Some stared at the image of their admiral, burned into their minds. Admiral Dax said softly, we could try to disobey, to run when their attention is elsewhere. Maybe. No, Zorvak said. Look at that. He pointed at the frozen frames of the cut battleship still on a side screen. They could have done that to all of us, he said. They did not. He met Dax's eyes. I will not repay restraint with treachery, he said. Not when my only victory would be one more dead ship. Sura watched him. For the first time since crossing the border, she felt a small, strange respect for her admiral that had nothing to do with his past victories. He had been arrogant, yes. But here, at the edge of defeat, he chose a kind of honor. On the Night Covenant, Elias saw the shift in the Imperial fleet's formation. The Sovereign Claw is holding position, he reported. Several ships marked hold are gathering around it. They understand. Maya's voice was quiet. They are forming a core, she said. A group that accepts its fate. Shaw closed her eyes for a second. We owe them clarity, she said. And we owe the survivors a safe path home. She opened her eyes again and spoke to the Imperial crews once more. To those who will leave, she said, remember what you have seen. Remember our technology. Remember this net. Remember the single shot that cut a battleship in half. Her gaze seemed to harden slightly. Do not come back, she said. Do not test this border again. We will not be kinder a second time. Then her voice softened by the smallest degree. To those who remain, she said, know this. You are not prisoners of war in the old sense. You are witnesses. You will live. You will see Earth, though not as conquerors. You will carry knowledge your empire has forgotten. He had not expected that. See Earth? He repeated, stunned. Maya answered from Colorado. Her voice carried through the same net. Yes, she said, from a distance, from controlled locations. We are not spirits. We are not legends. We are just people who chose to hide behind strong walls. Your quiet guide explains. Terrans know that myths can swell in the minds of enemies. If the Empire thinks of them as gods or ghosts, fear may twist into worship or madness. If they see humans as real, as flesh and blood with limits, the lesson stays firm and simple. Do not cross the line, not because we are holy, but because we are prepared. Around the Imperial fleet, more ships slipped into the safe corridors. Soon, only a cluster of hold and seize ships remained. The Sovereign Claw at the center, flanked by others that had come too far or carried too many secrets. Gravity fields shifted again. For the released ships, the net gently pushed them outward, away from Terran space. For those that stayed, the net held steady, like a careful hand. On each released ship, officers gathered their thoughts. Messages began to form in their minds. Reports for high command, witness statements, technical assessments. Technical assessments, rumors they would not be able to stop banging around in mess halls and private cabins. Captain Dax watched the first of the released ships vanish into FTL along the marked path. He imagined the long flight back, the debriefings, the arguments in dark rooms. They will not want to believe them, he said. Sierra nodded. But there are too many of them to silence easily, she said. Too many ships, too many eyes. On the Night Covenant, Maya had already thought that through. Some of their leaders will try to bury this, she said to Shaw. And Elias, they will call it a mistake, a lie, a trick made by their enemies. She tapped a screen, but we will also send a data packet along with them, she said. Broadcast on open bands as they cross back into normal Imperial space. Hard facts, images, sensor logs, enough proof that any officer with a scrap of honesty will see the truth. Elias smiled faintly. You never trust just one way to spread a message, he said. Of course not, Maya replied. Memory needs support. Back in hidden Norfolk, under the Atlantic, other Terran officers were already preparing long-term plans. They would watch Imperial news. They would listen to chatter in the Empire's outer colonies. They would check if patrol routes bent away from Terran Territory once more, as they had in older centuries. On 1,000 worlds, long-range star charts would be updated. Maps that had begun to show the Terran Red Zone as just an old mark would be revised with fresh warnings, new overlays, and added notes. Recent, Wretch, Event. No exceptin. Captains who had been here would retire and tell their grandchildren quiet, serious stories. I saw a ship cut in half by a single beam. I felt our drives claw against gravity like an insect in amber. I heard a calm human voice explaining why we were still alive. Some would be believed. Some would be doubted. But the map mark would stay. On the Sovereign Claw, as the last of the released ships vanished into carefully opened exits, the ship's artificial night shifted toward Terran Standard Time. Sarah looked at her admiral. "What happens to us now?" she asked. Zorvak let out a long breath. "We learn," he said simply. He sounded almost surprised at his own answer. On the Night Covenant, Elias began the gentle process of pulling the remaining Imperial ships deeper into Terran-controlled space. He did not yank them, he did not drag them. He adjusted gravity wells so that it felt to their crews. Like a slow, guided flow, they would not see all of Terran territory. They would not see the secret shipyards, the hidden fortresses, the deeper layers of defense. But they would see enough to know that the Night Covenant was not a single rare monster. It was one tool among many in a network built over thousands of years. Far below, on Earth, in the buried rooms under Colorado Springs, Maya Caldwell closed some files and opened new ones. She added a line to the event record. Outcome, partial release. Strategic aim achieved. Empire reminded of border. Next breach predicted in 1,000 standard years. Admiral Shaw read over her shoulder through a secure link. "You really think it will take that long?" she asked. Maya nodded. "Stories fade," she said, "but this one will last a while. The shock is deep, the images are strong. The survivors are many. It will be hard for ambitious admirals to argue with that. And when they do," Shaw asked. Maya sighed. "Then we will do this again," she said, "or something like it, with the same calm, the same control, until either their line of rulers learns truly, or their empire dissolves, and some new power takes its place." Elias, hearing this from the Night Covenant, felt the weight of years. "We are not just defending a border," he thought. "We are holding a place in time." He looked at the galaxy map. The Terran Red Zone sat there, small but clear, a quiet circle amid a web of trade and war. Your quiet guide speaks to you one last time. This is how the Terrans choose to live now. Not as rulers of the galaxy, not as saviors, not as ghosts, as a hidden, patient power behind a single line, willing to speak rarely, and when they do, to make sure their voice cannot be ignored. In the wider galaxy, weeks and months after the event, rumors spread. Some said the Imperial fleet was ambushed by pirates with stolen superweapons. Some said a new alien species had arrived, but then the survivors returned. Their ships bore strange hull marks from artificial gravity shears. Their logs held clean records of gravity nets, stealth fields, and the Night Covenant's single shot. Their eyes held something harder to fake than any report. The calm, haunted look of those who had stood before a force they could not match and been allowed to walk away. In court halls and war rooms, high nobles listened to these reports. Some raged. Some ordered files sealed. Some quietly adjusted patrol routes and told their children, never go near the red zone, not ever. Not for glory, not for profit, not for anything. Among lower officers, a simple phrase began to spread. Remember the Covenant, not as a myth, as a warning. The Terran border, once treated as superstition, settled back into the minds of pilots, navigators, and admirals as something like a law of nature, like a black hole you do not fly into, like a star you do not approach when it is about to flare. You, the viewer, sit with this knowledge. You have ridden with the Imperial fleet as it crossed a forbidden line. You have stood aboard the Night Covenant as it woke and chose not to annihilate. You have watched power shown with control, fear turned into memory, and a border enforced not by endless war, but by a single, perfect lesson. Someday, the Galactic Empire will fall. All empires do. Its banners will rot, its towers will crack. New species and new unions will rise in its place. But somewhere on every serious star map, in every age that follows, there will still be a red zone marked around a quiet patch of space. Beside it, in whatever language is common then, will be written words like these: Terran Territory. Do not enter. This border is absolute, and if some restless captain ever asks, why, there will be an answer, an old recording. A story of a trapped fleet, a net of gravity, and a single shot from the Night Covenant that taught a lesson meant to outlive empires.